Hey, what's up, Jeremy? You just passed your PMP exam, and my name's Scott Payne, and I'm a dude that does bad at computers. But I want to know about your PMP exam journey. You just passed. How'd it go, dude?
It went good. Took a little longer than I planned. I ended up having about 2 minutes left on that exam whenever it came through. So not going to lie, stressed that a little bit whenever I looked at the timer. Really didn't pay that much attention to it until the last phase. So that's something I would definitely key in on is the time management part of it. I didn't do that, but ended up with 3 above targets. So pretty happy with how that worked out.
I would say so. I mean, you can't get 4 above targets because there ain't 4 things to get above targets on. So that's pretty good. All right, sweet. So, what was your exam journey? Walk me through it. What's the basics of your exam journey?
Yeah, so basically the way it started out was some of the higher level positions that I've kind of been applying for. I'm in a functional organization, so that manager director level stuff showed that I needed a PMP to even, be, I guess, thought of for that position. So that's what started the pursuit of kind of trying to get the PMP. I went with got on the PMI site, advertisement there. Of course, I got keyed in on, and then looked through it a little bit. And it's one of those things where the computer always follows you around now. So everywhere I went, it was just sitting there flashing in that corner.
Good for them.
Just hit me like a neon light. So that's went with that, went through my supervisor, decided to go that route, sat in it for a while. It could have been a 7-day boot camp, ended up being, like 6 weeks. We met Tuesday, Thursdays for about 2 hours. Death by PowerPoint.
Yeah.
Pretty much is how it boiled down to. I think that the teacher knew exactly what she was talking about, but you can only do so much with what you have. And it was hard to follow along with. I sat through meetings all day already, trying to look through that PowerPoint for 2 hours and listen to it. I droned off. At some point, kind of has that Snoopy kind of vibe to it. And she did a great job. It just, I couldn't follow it. So, got in my truck, started looking through different podcasts because I had a long drive coming up, came across yours on YouTube, listened to it a little bit, listened to a couple other ones. I thought, well, I'm going to check this out. So I got online, looked it up, kind of went through it. I really liked the personality that you threw out with it. It wasn't, just a normal everyday, you're sitting in a class. It had some different things through it that would kind of grab your attention here and there. Or maybe you'll throw something out that's just kind of an informal, but I enjoyed that kind of whenever I was learning. So gave you a call. You were gracious enough to put me through the Accelerator program, started doing that. I didn't realize that I could go ahead and get into coaching calls. It didn't really show up.
Yeah.
Got on the first end of the news website. So coaching calls popped up, and I had 3 coaching calls before I took the test. Salvador was my coaching calls, did some of the questions, made easy. Those were helpful, walking through that. Honestly, the walking through the process, a lot of those questions I was able to kind of key off of the 2, break it down pretty quick. Some of them took a little bit of time, and then I don't know, it pretty much just led me in a direct line, just kind of following how you had it set up. So that really was helpful.
That's awesome, dude. And we have something in common. I don't know if you're comfortable saying it, but I can say it because whatever. We both took the PM training boot camp. You went through it. I was like, I'm out, dude. It's terrible. And so you didn't say it. I did. You're not confirming, but I am. That everybody out there, PM training's garbage. But, and so whatever. So when you went through it, what did you like? Okay, so let's just take the positive side. I just went negative. Sorry about that. What did you like most about the Accelerator process? What about it did you like that helped you out?
Yeah, what I liked about it was I was able to kind of pull it as I needed to. There's times during work whenever I'd just be able to hit little spots and try to make my way through the day. I assumed that whenever I first started, it was a 7-day accelerator, and I was just going to breeze through it in 7 days. It took me a little longer than I planned on.
Yeah.
Fine. There's a lot of stuff, especially the waterfall part took a little bit longer.
Yeah.
And I have I have 2 small kids. I'm coaching their ball teams. We're running around here and there. So not having to sit in certain hours and being able to pull the information as I wanted to, that really helped out quite a bit. There'd be times when the kids would be getting ready for bed, and I'd just sit there for about an hour and run through a couple modules. I could do it on my phone, which was nice. Maybe I'm waiting 30 minutes for someone to show up for a meeting, and I could just put my headphones in and watch it. Mm-hmm. So that was really helpful. So I like that part of it. Just the accessibility was probably one of the better things. The material really covered what I needed to know, not everything you should ever know. So that's what I like. It was broke down well. Pretty much what I couldn't figure out. I went through the e-workbook, mm-hmm. and it covered all the little pieces that I might have been missing. Mm-hmm. Rolling wave planning. I couldn't find that anywhere. I went through the e-workbook Salvador suggested, and right there, boom, exactly what I needed to know. Quick paragraph, broke it down, out the gate.
Nice. And then you mentioned like death by PowerPoint. Like, mm-hmm. It ain't the way we roll. But like, what was the difference as far as presentation, like the energy, the method? Was it death by PowerPoint? How did it compare to the other course? All that stuff as far as the content delivery.
No, there was no death by PowerPoint. Right, it's a lot of material, so at times I'd find myself needing to just take a break. Mm-hmm. At the same time, it was one of those things where I liked the personality that you brought with it. Right, there was an energy there. It was kind of fun for me to wait and figure out, is he gonna make a mistake and say something right just off cuff, So that was kind of exciting for me to wait and just kind of anticipate. So I actually liked that part of it. No, the energy was good. The energy kept me involved. It kept me kind of paying attention. So I would say that's probably one of the biggest things that I really liked about it. It was a different spin on how teaching is and should be.
Okay. What do you mean by different spin? Like, how was it different?
So normally, you're sitting up there, somebody's just trying to push this information, just feed it to you through a fire hose for the most part. You work through it, and then you came back around to it and at the end and show how all of it kind of worked together. So instead of just, here it is, either you get it or you don't, it was, here it is, here's why, and then at the end, and this is the whole reason for it. So that's what I enjoyed about it. So it really made it easy to comprehend that way.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
And in like going back, like when you think about like, okay, so you went through, you said like, hey, bringing it all together, making it approachable, talking in like human language instead of some kind of gobbledygook project management Martian speak, death by PowerPoint. As you look back, you talked about a new way of learning, which I would concur with. We're constantly improving. What is wrong with traditional PMP training, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think they try to give you a whole lot all at once with too much context, which isn't even relevant on the test that I took. Mm-hmm. The way that you set it up actually helps me later in my career of what I should have been doing. And I was doing it. It's just I didn't. So our company's verbiage is a little bit different than what the PM verbiage is, right? So trying to figure out a way to relate that was probably the hardest part for me.
Do you feel like you're a better project manager for going through the accelerator and doing this way, or what?
100%. Yeah. Whenever I was going through the traditional training, I looked at it at one point and thought, I've done well, I've moved up, but now the way that this is set up, I suck. Right. So I can't tell you anything about what they're saying they're doing. So, and then we went through the accelerator. I was like, okay, I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. It just didn't click. Right. So
right.
Making an easier approach to it.
That's a thing.
You always talk about logical.
What's that?
Logical. You always talk about logical, right? So you made it logical. I need something. I have to relate everything, right? Whether it's to an athletic event, whether it's to something going on. Everything that I do, I relate it to something that I know in detail and just try to work off of that. You did that, so that was helpful.
That's awesome, dude. And so like I think the thing that you hit on just then was like you're working. Like a lot of times I think, or I talk to a lot of students, they come from like these other boot camps and stuff, and they feel so demoralized. They feel like, I went to this course, I went to this instructor, they talked all about their experience, their stuff, their blah, 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 and did all these like ittos and whatever and overwhelm me. And it's almost like they feel like they're losing their mojo, like they're losing what made them good at what they're doing. And they're like, man, this is a totally different world. Maybe I'm not good. Maybe I need to drop out of this profession, which is, heartbreaking in a sense. So like what you talked about, I think is super duper important for people to realize is, if you're feeling that way, get off the train, get onto a different train, and just realize like you are probably you're not perfect. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect, whatever. But like the fundamentals are there, or you wouldn't have been successful. And then like, as you beat down on it and you say like, oh, I am good at this, but I can tighten it up. I'm good at this, but I can tighten it up. You get better. Do you agree with that? Kind of like, you were good, but you just need a little tweakage and you'd be even better, or what?
Yeah, exactly. It's like anything, right? The more you practice, the better you play type situation. So my deal was I was doing agile and I didn't even realize I was doing agile most of the time.
Nice.
So, because it's a functional group, where everything's pretty on stream, but maybe it's a little bit of hybrid, but for the most part, we're kind of trending toward that agile atmosphere, and I didn't even realize it. So really dialing that down and figuring out how all that works. And I've already started using more,
Awesome.
So the accelerator helped me out tremendously, and it's going to continue to help me out.
Dude, and you get access forever, so you're good to go. And I can't stop making videos, so we're going to get more and more stuff, so you're good to go.
There you go. Yeah, I subscribed on the podcast.
Only 3 calls with Salvador, the accountability coach, but first time you showed up, you had a timeline, all that stuff. Like, what was it like working with Salvador? How did he approach you? How did you work together? Like, what did you get from it, etc.?
Yeah, Salvador was great, right? At first, I wasn't real sure because I got in there late on a call. Mm-hmm. I'm in Oklahoma Central Time. I got the time mixed up. Mm-hmm. So I came in about 45 minutes late to the call. Didn't really go through the schedule part. So really, I guess I only had 2 coaching calls. Yeah. But whenever I went through there, the first thing he did was he basically set each individual, created a learning plan for me, which was, that was probably one of the best things it could, because I was spiraling. I was thinking, oh, I need to look here. I need to look here. I did good on one test here, and then I do good on the next one, and then I do bad on another one. It's like he's basically took me, almost shook me, said, hey, these are what you need to do. Follow this path, and you're going to be successful. And I said, well, what do I got to lose, right? So followed that. Obviously, it worked. Really, the main thing, it calmed my nerves, right, to where I wasn't just pulling information everywhere, left and right. Okay, you're going to do this for 2 days, and then you're going to do this, and you're going to send me these notes. And every time I would send him an email, he would respond quick. It was all positive, pushing me, making myself get better, as opposed to, like you said, the kind of bring you down mentality. It was, no, we're going to work on this. You're going to do fine. You're killing it.
That's awesome.
So that was really good with Salvador, the way he coached.
Well, that's awesome. I love the fact that you said, like, when you stepped in, like, he was like, all right, let's get you right. Let's figure out what's good for your world. How many hours you got? What's your day like? You got kids, you got other stuff, and all those things, and really nail it down. And like, what my challenge to the coaches and what we do, this is what he's doing, Rel, is like, they are your steward. They're your like back, and they got your back. And so like, this is how we're doing it. You got to keep your head up. We can do this. We can bounce back from anything, and they move you through it. So I'm glad that that's what you got, and that's what we're trying to do. So awesome, dude. That's awesome. That's cool. That's cool. So let's talk about those hard question calls. You only did a couple of those with me and other people. Like, what was it like? How did they help you? Were you scared when you got into it? What was the experience? How'd you get better? All that stuff.
I think my first one, I was like everyone else that I noticed whenever it went through, was like, I just started, so don't take it easy. And then don't worry about it. You're fine. Just do what you do. Like, okay, well, I'm probably going to screw up, but you can tell me if I do or not. So we went through it. It was actually really good. All the people in the accelerator are really helpful. I'd get private messages saying, hey, yeah, the way you related that really helped me. Right? Or I'd send them, hey, I didn't even think about that during that question. I appreciate, you bringing that up, because I completely missed the 8 ball on that one. So that was really good. It did help because it helped me strategize the questions in the test. The bottom, work through the question first and then work my way down. Because a lot of the information is irrelevant that they give you in the top. Yeah. And it's a matter of knowing, hey, they're trying to lead me left and I need to go right. So if you can go through that the highlight option on the test was actually helpful in strike throughs.
Yeah.
So as I went through, I was striking out stuff, didn't even need it. There was whole sentences that were relevant. So that really helped out. And then my deal, I was overanalyzing everything, really. Probably the best information that Salvador gave me was on the PMP, every question's not great. Right? It's just not every question's great. So it's which one's the best of the worst, kind of. So that was helpful. Once I did that, it kind of took it where I was overanalyzing it to death.
Nice.
I beating a dead horse whenever it came to it. So once I kind of got that mindset, I was running through the questions pretty quick.
That's awesome, dude. And I can remember like initial times, and you or other people are in the accountability or the hard question calls. Like the first thing they say is like, "Oh, it's my first day, or it's my first week, or it's my first whatever. I'm gonna be bad." And it's like, dude, like relax, just talk normal, logic through it. You get it wrong, we don't care. Everybody stubbed their toe. Let's just talk through it. Because what we realize is, what I try to get to the students really, really quickly is, all the stuff's already in here and into here. You got the experience, you got the knowledge. We just got to refine it, maybe clean up the lens you're looking through, help you like not get lost. And once they do that and they slough off all that things that people tell them, you got to take a billion questions and all this other junk. Like once they do that, they start to streamline. And the thing that you talked about that I think is super duper awesome is, first of all, people were like super nice and super supportive, that's the environment we got. And then secondly, like you went through and you just refined the process and you were like, hey, this is what I need to focus on. Here's how I nail it down and get it going. So is that kind of like the big things that you got out of the call, like the support and the focus and then just like the confidence as you got through the call, or what do you think?
Yeah, I'd say the support was great, but it was the confidence at the end of it. You know, I would turn my speaker off, so I would have to work through it to where I wasn't hearing everybody talk through it. And then I kick it back on to see what they thought about it.
Yes.
Right. Because I don't know, whenever I have people trying to read the same stuff I'm trying to read, it throws me off a little bit. So that was helpful for me personally. So I would do that and then kick it on, basically figuring out what they were thinking in the process because I didn't have their influence whenever I was going through it.
Yes.
Right? That was the biggest thing. And then thinking, okay, well, obviously I didn't have their influence. They're thinking the same thing I'm thinking. So I'm on to something. So that's kind of how I approach those. But
that's awesome, dude, because you're getting perspective. And that's one of like the things that we've really, really learned and we emphasize is that when they're in there, it's not like you're just learning from yourself. People are like, initially, sometimes people are like, well, I'm just going to wait till my question. And it's like, no, dude, get involved, thinking, analyzing, critiquing in a positive way, conversing back and forth through like the, talking or the chat about like how you think about it. Cause like hearing someone else like explain something and you going like, oh, I see it like differently, or I focus on a different point, or, oh yeah, I'm totally aligned. And then you're on the path. Like that perspective, I think is super duper helpful. And it's like, then I'm just there kind of like herding sheep. I'm just keeping you going and making sure that you don't like, oh, no, I don't like B. I just want to go past it. No, let's sit. Let's think about it. Let's analyze it. If you don't know it, somebody else does. We'll get into them. They'll explain it to you. Everybody gets better, like the rising tide kind of concept. So that's awesome, dude. All right. You mentioned like support and, openness and like you chatting with people. I mean, you're out Oklahoma, right? And like these people are all over the world. Like how the heck was there a community and like a support network and an openness if we're all online, if we're all just chatting? Some people you see their face, some people not. Like talk to me about like the community and like the calls and stuff and how that helped you, man.
Yeah, the calls, just because it seems like the way that they schedule for people's time, you end up having a lot of the same people in every call.
Yeah.
So you become familiar with it. That was helpful because the first time you don't know any of the people, you're kind of reluctant. I didn't really care to talk to anyone at that moment anyway. So I'm sitting there going through, and then the next one, it eases up a little bit, and then it eases up a little bit. And it's just that development that kind of was helpful. And the first call, I had people messaging me after I taught, great job, the way you interpreted that. I didn't think about that type situation. So I said the community was great. I didn't see any negative people in that because we're all trying to do the same thing. And I think you surround yourself with like-minded people that are just trying to improve. It's only going to get better. So
I love it.
Against each other, right? We're not going after the same job. we're not in the same areas. We're not, down the hall. It's everyone's just trying to help each other out. So that was helpful. I got no negative at all on the community part.
And the other thing is, like, a lot of the students come from other programs. Like, they went through, they're struggling. Like, I just talked to a guy right before your call who's failed twice. And so either you're coming in like new and you don't know anything, and you have that desire to pass and do well, or they've struggled. They've been studying for 3 months, 6 months, a year plus. They failed, they didn't fail, whatever. And it's like everybody's there and saying, like, yo, like, let's just be open and honest. And that's the cool things that's developed. Or now it's just like a wave, man. Like, it just, like, there is no negativity. We don't have to worry about, no one's talking over each other, no one's doing anything. It's just like, how do we get better? How do we participate? Like, if someone is, like, I've heard stories of, like, someone, like, being a little, I missed the question, and then, like, the group just says, like, yo, man, you got it. Like, no big deal. Like, you hit half of it good, you got the other half bad. Ain't no big deal. Like, I made that mistake last week. Cool. And it bounces them up. So I'm glad you experienced that as well. So that's awesome. That's cool. All right, sweet. You've given us a ton. It really helped us out. I appreciate it. There's a lot of people out there that are struggling, like whether they've spent a long time, they failed, like we mentioned, traditional or otherwise training. What would be your advice for those struggling PMP students? What do they need to do? How do they best utilize their time? How do they best utilize their money? And make sure that they end up where you are, 3 above targets and better for it. So what's your advice for those folks?
Oh, yeah, I would. I mean, obviously, I enjoyed this program, so I would recommend that to anyone. The other ones kind of just wasted my money and my time a little bit. So basically, the biggest thing is narrowing down at basic, realizing the first test you take, you're probably going to fail it. Mm-hmm. Okay. That it's hard for me because I don't like to really fail anything. So I think whenever I looked at that and saw, I think I got like a 54, and it was pretty much just a punch to the gut. So that's okay. When you go through it, realize, hey, this is just finding things that maybe you're not as good as you thought you were. Yeah. So there's always room for improvement. Anything you can't figure out, the ebook is really helpful. Yeah. I thought, man, if I can get away with just watching videos, I'm going to do that. So that was an initial route. And then Salvador kind of pulled me back and was like, go through that ebook. It's going to, you can narrow stuff that you're wanting to find out. So the ebook was super helpful. Mm-hmm. Time management, because I did a terrible job at it on mine. Whenever I looked up, and I think I had 20 questions left and 25 minutes, and I flagged some stuff I wanted to go back through. My problem was I just didn't think about it, or maybe I just didn't care. But yeah, I will say that once I saw that countdown, I got a little stressed on that part of it. That was probably the only part I really got stressed about on that whole test, was looking at the countdown timer. But I told myself I'm not really going to pay that much attention to it until I get to the last phase, because it's going to take me as long as it takes me, and then I'll have to hurry a little bit. So I'd rather get all the I knew I could get right, leave 10 questions that I could guess through if I needed to, as opposed to guess through all of them and really not know, because I was rushing myself. So time management was a big deal. That was probably the biggest thing, was make sure that you realize that you need to work on making sure you go through it at your pace, and then just start improving your pace, because rushing it's only going to get you in the back end of it. So
totally understand. And not to drive too deep, but how did you manage your emotions during the exam? Like, you got a little behind time, it happens, a little, influx of questions, a certain maybe put you back. How did you manage your emotions and stuff?
Yeah, so I did it in person. Whenever I went through, man, it took forever for us to file through. They're kind of getting back to some of the COVID restrictions. I had to wear my mask during the whole time, which is fine. It's whatever. But so that actually helped me, because I could kind of talk through some of the stuff with my mask. And
you can mumble, at some point.
Yeah. But half the time I feel like I'm talking to myself anyway. So now just nobody could tell that I was crazy, right? So that was helpful. At one point, it started to get a little loud because people were kind of coming in and out during some of the breaks. They had noise canceling headphones. That helped. The biggest thing was, before, I just kind of made sure my breathing was right, went through it, sat there. I closed my eyes for a little bit before it started, ran through a prayer, thought of what I needed to do, and realized, hey, I mean, if it happens, it happens. If not, you at least did the best that you could through before. So I had that mindset going in as you prepared as best as you possibly can. If you fail, you're going to identify those things and you're going to come back around and you're going to do it. And I gave myself, okay. I mean, I didn't want to have a plan to fail, right? Put all pressure, it's pass or nothing. So I had a plan. If I didn't pass, I would come around. I'd give myself 10 days, take it online whenever I needed to, because getting into an on-site takes a month and a half or something crazy.
Yeah.
So that was how I kind of was knowing that I'm going to pass.
Yeah.
I mean, if I don't pass this one, I'm going to pass the next time.
No doubt.
And knowing that it's okay, right? So
yeah. That's awesome, dude. Well, I'm very, very happy with how you did. I'm super proud of like the way you led through it. We're lucky to have you in the program. It's sad to see you go, but I'm happy that you passed with 3 above targets and you're not, I know why you're not in the calls and stuff. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
And this won't be the last time we chat. We got more stuff coming. I really want to follow your career. You got great things in the future. So if there's anything that I can do to help you out, please like reach out at any time. And yeah, man, it's just been great. We're happy for you and thanks.
Yeah, no, I appreciate everything you do. And I'm going to refer back to that accelerator just at times, so I make sure that I'm on par with everything I need to, because I know you'll keep making improvements to it. So I appreciate you and I appreciate Salvador.
Yeah, man. All right. Well, thank you very much. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you.